Good morning, year six. I hope you're well and have had a good day so far. Within our English today, we're thinking more about the war sonnets of Rupert Brooke, and we're going to be thinking particularly about the skill of imagery and how we paint a picture using our figurative language to really conjure up images in the reader's mind. We're going to look at three poems today, so we need to be relatively brief, but the idea at the end of it is that you're going to begin to use some of these skills in your own writing. Okay, guys. So to start with, them to be successful, you're going to need to read the Dead. The Dead. There's two poems called The Dead. That's not a typing mistake. And the final poem, which is one of the most famous World War One poems, called The Soldier. Consider what the messages which Rupert Brooke was trying to deliver to us. So think about what he's trying to make us think about. Think about the different devices and the different skills and the different structures that he used. We're going to understand what imagery is, and we're going to practice using imagery and other devices in our own writing. Okay, just a bit of recall about three of these poems then. We've got Trench Duty, Dulce Decorum Est from Wilfred Owen, and In Flanders Field from John McCrae. So we've got those three poems, one by Siegfried Sassoon, one by Wilfred Owen, and one by John McCrae. Okay, which poem does each of these lines go with? See if you can recollect. So we've got We shall not sleep though poppies grow. We've got We lived, felt born, saw sunset grow. Gargling from the froth corrupted lungs, shaken from sleep and numbed and scarce awake, rumbling and bumpling and dark, the dark's a glare. So that's that oxymoron, um, but also that point where the personification of the dark. And men matched to sleep, many had lost their boots, but limped on bloodshot. So what do we think? Which lines can we put with which poem? Okay, from Trench Duty, so the poem by Siegfried Sassoon, that poet who carried on living until 1967. We've got Shaken from sleep and numbed and scarce awake. Okay, so we can see how difficult it was for the soldiers as we think about that. We've got rumbling and bumping, so that onomatopoeia, and the dark's a glare. That sound of rumbling and bumping, the idea that that was the noise that people made as they moved around the trenches because they couldn't see because the conditions were so poor. Dulce Decorum Est, then we've got Come Gargling from the Froth Corrupted Lungs. Remember that shouty last element of that poem from Wilfred Owen, where he talks about Dulce Decorum Est, it is honourable to die for your country. I'm basically saying he disagreed with that. And the lungs from which that came now, the shouting of that from those armchair patriots was what he was criticising there. So people at home shouting, it's noble to die for your country. He didn't agree with that at all. Men marched to sleep, many had lost their boots, but limped on bloodshot. And we can see here people were so tired that they're marching in spite of the fact that they're near to asleep, that hyperbole being used there. But losing their boots, but they still carry on because they've got no option. They might be shot if they desert, they turn around. Shall not sleep though poppies grow. Okay, so there the soldiers are dead. We lived, felt dawn to a sunset glow. That rhyming structure of that poem was very rhythmical, very beautiful, but also talking of death from that John McCrae poem. Eternal is a word which appears in one of the poems that we're looking at today, and we're just having to think about what eternal might mean. But to define it, it means to last or exist forever, so without end, so something that's never ended. Eternal, then, as a word, stems from the Latin aeternalis, which means from of an age, lasting, enduring, permanent, perpetual. So it keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. Again, we can see that link where we look at the middle part of it, eternalis, it has eternal within it. So Latin, again, influencing our current language. I was trying to think of an image for eternal, and obviously it's quite tricky. I couldn't pick an old person because they're not going to live forever and ever unless they're a magical one that's got immortality. This is the Olympic flame, and the idea with the Olympic flame is original Olympics or the modern Olympics, which started in 1896. There's a flame in Greece, which is supposed to be going forever. And the idea is when it's somebody's turn to host the Olympics, like it was London's in 2012, and like it was Tokyo's last year, but it's actually going to be in this year. Somebody collects the flame on a stick from Olympus and then runs with it across the world, or flies with it, however, and then runs around that country to get people so they're thinking about the Olympics before they occur. And the idea with this flame is it never goes out. And that flame is from one of the Olympic cities. And the idea then, when the Olympics happening in that city, the big flame is burning at the top of the stadium. I don't know if in 2012, when you would have been quite young guys, maybe two or three, whether any of you saw the Olympic plane coming through Birmingham. But when I was there in London, I saw it, and it's just this idea that something is continuing going on, eternal flame. So eternal means to keep going. So a synonym for eternal is never ending. An antonym is temporary, so something that doesn't happen for a long time. And then I'd say it's normally an adjective that we could say. For your efforts in saving our child, you have our eternal thanks, said the child's mother. Okay, so because the thanks aren't just temporary to now, we will always be thankful to you. I'd like you to try and think about the word immortality. I'd like you to complete one of these grids for immortality. We talked about mortality being something that people who die experience. So immortality, what would that mean? Have a think about that. Dead. So the third of Rupert Brooke's poem. Blow out, you bugles. Remember from Quite Peaceful, bugles are similar to trumpets. Blow out, you bugles, over the rich dead. There's none of these so lonely and poor of old. Iron has made us rarer gifts than gold. These laid the world away, poured out the red. Sweet wine of youth gave up years to be, of work and of joy, and that and hope serene. Men call age and those who would have been. Their sons they gave their immortality. Blow, bugles, blow, they brought us from our dearth. Holiness lacked so long, and love and pain. Honor has come back as a king to earth, and paid his subjects with a royal wage. And nobleness walks in our ways again, and we have come into our heritage. What do you notice about it? Anybody notice the structure straight away? The rhyming structure? How many lines? Yes, 14 lines, okay? And we can see there's an 8 and a 6, so it's an octave and then a sextave. Okay, so it's a 14-line poem, so it's a sonnet. You see dead rhyming with not gold. No, we've got old and gold, but we've got dead and red. So it's a one, it's an A, B, B, A. So almost like the Swedish supergroup ABBA. A, B, B, A, okay? And then the second one, sorry, just with the dead, the first of the dead, we can see certain themes in it again. There's anger, isn't there? Okay, so blow, bugles, blow! They brought us. Okay, also this feeling, this nobleness about them. Okay, a nobleness walked in our ways again, and we have come into our heritage. Honor has come back as a king to earth and paid his subjects with a royal wage. There's anger, but there's also this perception that soldiers are quite noble, that they've done something good, they've done something decent. Somewhere in between the lines of where Wilfred Owen was at the beginning of his journey and at the end, where he thought it was good to die as a soldier, and then where he thought the war was futile. The second dead poem, then, number 4. These hearts are woven of human joys and cares, washed marvellously with sorrow, swift to mirth. The years have given them kindness, dawn was theirs, and sunset and the colours of the earth. These have seen movement and heard music known, slumber and waking, loved and gone proudly friended, felt the quick stir of wonder, sat alone, touched flowers and furs and cheeks. All this is ended. There are waters blown by changing winds to laughter, and lit by the rich skies all day and after. Frost with a gesture stays the waves that dance, and wandering loveliness. He leaves a white unbroken glory, a gathered radiance, a whip shining peace under the night. And again, looking here at the structure, we can see different elements of here in here, but what we can start to see is this idea of this kind of imagery. And after, frost with a gesture stays the waves that dance in wandering loveliness. So painting a picture of what happened at the end of the war or at the battle. The dead are lying there, but after they're lying there, they're in the field, the frost comes over with a gesture. So this is giving a human characteristic to a weather. So it's almost like that pathetic fallacy idea where the figurative use of weather is being used to describe the feeling. So frost with a gesture stays the waves and that dance and wandering loveliness. He leaves a white and broken glory, a gathered radiance, a whip shining peace under the night. The frost covers them at night. If you remember, the Battle of the Somme continued into November in France, so therefore there would still be frost. It would be very cold. These dead bodies would at the end of the day's battling, the night would come down, the darkness would come down, and then frost would come across. The final poem, then, The Soldier. Another sonnet, another 14-line poem. If I should die, think only this of me. There is some corner of a foreign field that is forever England. There shall be in that rich earth a richer dust concealed, a dust whom England bore, shaped, made aware. Gave once her flowers to love, her ways to roam, a body of England's breathing air, washed by the rivers, blessed by sons of home, and think its heart all evil shed away. A pulse in the eternal mind, no less, gives somewhere back the thoughts by England given. Her sights and sounds, dreams happy as a day, and laughter learnt of friends, and gentleness in hearts at peace under an English heaven. So again, here we've got this idea of the soldier thinking back to his time in England. Forever some corner of a foreign field that is forever England. So where he dies, where he fought, is forever England. Foreign field, forever England. That alliteration being used there. Foreign field, forever. We've also got this imagery when our senses are appealed to. So this is the skill that we're looking at particularly today. And we can see here her flowers. So this is where England flowers. Breathing English air, washed by the rivers, blessed by the sons of home. Blessed is spelt differently in this poetic skills from more than 100 years ago. Sights and sounds. So the idea of England is really painted as a beautiful picture. Imagery is quite closely linked almost to hyperbole, where a really strong image is created to make it sound even more beautiful, maybe it is in reality. It contrasts, if you think about it, with Private Peaceful, where Tomo obviously doesn't love the idea of England sometimes. He likes it more than France, where he is now. He doesn't paint this beautiful picture. But here, the poet Rupert Brooke has painted a beautiful picture from the soldier. So, imagery, what we're thinking about then is how we can paint a picture of something. But I'm thinking about how I could paint a picture of England. Now, I'm looking from my window, so it's not as roaming, not as beautiful, maybe, as the poet Rupert Brooke wrote. The buses going here and there, getting nurses, doctors, and carers to their work. So that's something I'm thinking about at the moment. Lots of people will move by bus who have to go to work during lockdown. Resplendent in scarlet. I borrowed some language from Private Peaceful that use of the word scarlet. Resplendent in scarlet, so bright it creates a glare. So you can see I'm doing A rhyming structure. So I've got rhyming couplets, even though our key skill is imagery. The buses going here and there, getting nurses, doctors, and carers to their work. Resplendent in scarlet, so bright it creates a glare. Showing togetherness despite not being able to talk. Talk and work just about rhyme, maybe not quite, but I've kind of like been a bit EQ with my rhyming structure there. What I'd like you to do then, first of all, you're going to look at my two couplets there, my A B structure. So there, glare, work, talk, my rhyming structure, and see if you can improve it. But rather than getting nurses, can we change that verb? Rather than work and talk, can we change the ending? Can you paint a picture that's more beautiful maybe than buses going here and there? What is it about the buses? Okay, what is it about them? So can you improve mine? And once you've improved mine using the idea of the Rupert Brooke image of England there, you then try and write your own couplet about your view of England. What is it about where you are, near your house, where you've been on holiday in England or in Britain, which makes you think if you were away at war, what picture of England would you want to keep in your mind as you write poems? Over the next week and a half, we're going to build our own poetry up so that we write some sonnets about World War One and about the life of poems. And what I'd like you to do today then is look at those three poems, complete that vocabulary grid for immortality, and then write your own couplets about your view of England. What do you think of England? So you've got the three poets to look at there, three poems, sorry. Then you've got your vocabulary around immortality, which you will maybe need to think about quite carefully. And then finally, your view of England. I'd like you to write at least 4 sets of couplets, so at least 8 lines of poetry, where you're describing England, England that you love, the England that you'd miss if you were away and stuck there forever in war. Thank you for your attention, Year 6. Looking forward to reading those 4 sets. So there's 8 lines of poetry. See you soon. Bye bye.